And it's been a wild Wednesday after months of stalemate, President Biden and former President Trump coming to a sudden agreement over two presidential debates. But their dates and formats could surprise many Americans. Joining us now live is NTD's White House correspondent, Iris Tal. Good evening to you, Iris. So what do we know about these debates so far, and how did we get here?
Good evening to you, Steve. So it all happened within just a few hours. After some quick back and forth this morning, both Biden and Trump have now agreed to two presidential debates. The first one, hosted by CNN, happening in just 6 weeks on June 27th. Another one by ABC on September 10th. But Trump's now asking for 4 debates in total, including one by Fox on October 2nd, saying Americans need to hear more about inflation, the border, and chaos in the world. But Biden's campaign, meanwhile, slamming the door for more debates, accusing Trump of playing games and insisting that Biden only wants 2 debates and both have to be one-on-one between Biden and Trump. Here's Biden in a video this morning. Watch.
Donald Trump lost 2 debates to me in 2020. Since then, he hadn't shown up for debate. Now he's acting like he wants to debate me again. Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice.
And the formats of these debates are still being debated as well and could surprise many. And Trump says he wants large venues to make it more exciting, while Biden's campaign wants no live audience, saying noisy spectacles aren't helpful. The June CNN debate, for example, won't have an audience and will also be the earliest televised presidential debate on record. It also marks the first time the candidates break away from the bipartisan group that has run these debates for decades. It's also the first time the debates are set even before either candidate has become the official party nominee. And all these surprises today come as both Biden and Trump are already exchanging fire, though not yet on stage. Watch.
It was just announced last month. Inflation surged once again and surged very badly. Joe Biden's inflation tax continues to take away 30 to 50% of every dollar you have.
The factors that caused inflation was in place when he walked into the administration, when he took office. As you know, the pandemic caused inflation around the world.
And that was the White House today defending President Biden's comments this week that inflation was 9% when he took office, while in fact it was 1.4%. Steve.
Well, Iris, we certainly expect the economy to be in the spotlight at these upcoming debates. Tell us how this third-party candidate, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., is doing, and how is he reacting to the debates? Will he be getting in?
Well, at least it doesn't look like so yet. While Robert F. Kennedy is polling quite well, surprisingly well as a third-party candidate, but he's not making that requirement yet. Both CNN and ABC are requiring at least 15% of voter support for a candidate to appear on that debate stage, while he's only polling at around 10% in polls. And meanwhile, Kennedy today also complained about that, accusing Trump and Biden of trying to exclude him from these debates, accusing them of trying to do it because they're afraid that he was going to win. Steve.
NTD's Iris Tal reporting live from the White House. Thank you, Iris. Consumers are still feeling the pinch of inflation at the cash register. The Labor Department today reporting a slight uptick in overall prices in April. According to the new report on the Consumer Price Index, the cost of goods and services jumped 0.3% in April. That's a bit of a relief compared to the previous 0.4% jump recorded in March. Meanwhile, overall retail sales continued to stay flat as higher gas prices pulled spending away from other goods. The report indicates that consumers are putting more money into essentials while cutting back on luxury goods. Retail sales actually fell when you factor out items like cars, gas, building materials, and food services. And the House of Representatives marked Peace Officers Memorial Day today with a hearing and debate on legislation designed to support law enforcement across the nation. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has more.
Speaker of the House Mike Johnson led House Republicans in commemorating Peace Officers Memorial Day with a legislative agenda focusing on supporting law enforcement nationwide.
And this week we pay tribute to those who do clothe themselves with that dignity and decency and who stand on the lines of justice and keep us safe. So as Leader Scalise mentioned, we'll be passing legislation on the floor to make that clear and to do everything we possibly can to celebrate those officers and to protect those who protect all of us.
The House Committee on Homeland Security held a hearing on Wednesday on how Congress should support law enforcement. The Democratic ranking member, Congressman Benny Thompson from Mississippi, questioned law enforcement experts on whether gun regulations would decrease crime rates.
You can do whatever you want. The fact of the matter is, I think we've got to hold these people accountable that use guns in crimes and prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, rather than constantly trying to change laws that are really only going to impact the honest citizen buying a gun.
I think that efforts are probably best spent in holding people accountable that are breaking the law very actively, including people that are knowingly using stolen firearm.
Congressman Benny Thompson then proceeded to question law enforcement experts on the events of January 6, 2021.
One more question. On January 6, thousands of angry supporters who whipped into a frenzy by the former president marched on the White House to the Capitol, where they broke a police barricade, smashed windows, and assaulted police officers. Mr. Mays, do you agree that this violence against police officers was unjustified?
Absolutely.
So I agree that anybody that does that should be fully prosecuted.
Mr. Bullock?
Take the same stance. Anyone that commits violence towards law enforcement should not be tolerated.
Mr. Bryant? I agree.
Republicans, on the other hand, brought to the House floor for debate a bill that would allow the deportation of illegal aliens accused of assaulting police officers, and a bill requiring attorney generals to publish statistics on assaults on police officers, as well as 2 resolutions condemning Biden for his border policy and another condemning efforts to defund law enforcement. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Breaking out of Europe, Slovakia's populist Prime Minister Robert Fico is fighting for his life. He was severely wounded from a gunshot following a political event this afternoon. Footage shows the Prime Minister being flown to the hospital on a helicopter and transported inside on a stretcher. The suspect was in the crowd of people waiting to greet Fico. Authorities said he's already been arrested, that suspect, and after the shooting, words of condemnation from world leaders began pouring in. Slovak officials said the attack was a politically motivated assassination attempt. Last October, Fico won a 3rd term as Slovakia's prime minister after running on a pro-Russia and anti-Western platform. Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to meet with the Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping tomorrow. This comes after authorities in Russia and Serbia have detained several Falun Gong practitioners for their faith. NTD's Jack Bradley has more from the United States Department of State.
During his visit to China on Thursday, Vladimir Putin is reportedly expected to discuss Russia's war with Ukraine, as China is a vital supporter of Russia's military supply and economy. Putin's visit to China comes amid a transnational repression of Falun Gong by the Chinese Communist Party. Falun Gong is a meditative exercise discipline with moral teachings. It's been heavily persecuted by the Chinese regime since 1999. Earlier this month, Russian authorities had arrested 5 Falun Gong practitioners and sentenced one of them to detention for 2 months.
And sending someone to jail simply for meditating and trying to live their lives by compassion, honesty, and forbearance. Over the last quarter century, 25 years, the Chinese regime has systematically imprisoned millions of people who practice Falun Gong, and torture and death by torture and death by forced organ harvesting are rampant.
This appears to be part of a broader regional trend, as just days later, Serbian authorities arrested 6 Falun Gong practitioners and 2 of their family members. This was ahead of Xi Jinping's visit to the country, and they were only released after Xi left the country. Now, Serbia relies heavily on billions of dollars in investments from China, which is concerning as Serbia is trying to become a member of the European Union. Now, at the same time, Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Ukraine, and on Wednesday he promised Ukraine $2 billion in military financing. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And turning now to the Senate primary in the state of Maryland, Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks has secured the Democratic nomination for the United States Senate. She's on track to take on former Republican Governor Larry Hogan. Also, Brooks defeated Congressman David Trone, who paid $61 million out of his own pocket to fund his campaign. Meanwhile, Hogan has launched an initiative calling on Democrats to support him. The Maryland Republican has been a staunch critic of former President Trump. Hogan and also Brooks are running to succeed retiring Democratic Senator Ben Cardin. With Republicans already poised to flip a Senate seat in West Virginia, the GOP needs to pick up only 1 or 2 more seats, depending on who wins the presidency, to secure a majority in the Senate. Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.